Welcome back everyone to the European LCS Spring Split Playoffs. I'm Joe Miller along with Marcin Deficio Lunga. And before we get into our next match, let's take a quick look at the playoff bracket. With that win in the last game, Fnatic will head into the championship game tomorrow, and Alliance will compete in the third place game, and their final opponents will be decided right now as it's time for our second semi-final series of the day, where SK Gaming and ROC take to the Rift and try to battle their way into that final match against Fnatic.
And SK Gaming is the team in Europe with the best tactical play on the map. Their rotations are strong, and they have the ability to end games through very quick decisions. And this has made SK Gaming the #1 team in the EU LCS. And combine those strong rotations with a lot of different team comps, and you have a team which is very hard to make a game plan against. The only two predictable players, in my opinion, during the season have been Freddy and Jesiz in terms of picks, where Svenskeren and the dual lane all played a lot of different champions.
Well, let's take a closer look at Svenskeren. He received OP Player of the Week 6 times during the season, and Svenskeren has, for us, been the MVP jungler of the season as well, I think we can safely say. His KDA is not that impressive with 3.1, but his early game impact is the most important in the league.
Yeah, and Svenskeren loves to play champions like Pantheon, Evelynn, and Elise, and all three bring early game pressure, and they can gank before level 6. And the numbers on these champions for Svenskeren really show how dominant he's been. He lost only 2 games the 18 times he played Pantheon, Evelynn, or Elise. His lowest KDA is on Evelynn with 4.2, while his 100% win rate Pantheon sits on a KDA of 6. However though, I don't expect to see Pantheon from Svenskeren, as there are so many new options now in the jungle with the new Feral Flare.
I think another player to keep an eye on for SK Gaming is their mid laner, Jesiz. It's the first season for Young Dane, and after a shaky and I think we can say nervous start, he's become more confident and started to perform better and better. He's scoring the second highest KDA of mid laners in the European LCS, and that really shows how much he's improved over the season.
Yeah, he's been improved a lot, but people actually still consider Jesiz to be the weak link of SK Gaming. His performance on LeBlanc or Zed has been very poor, but when you put him on Nidalee or Xaxus, you see a completely different player with nothing weak about him. His KDA of 8.33 on Nidalee and 5 on Xaxus really show which playstyle Jesiz is the best at. And ROC, they might target bans against Jesiz to get him away from Nidalee and Xaxus, so we need to see if he has expanded his champion pool here in 4.5, and if he can control his nerfs, which were an issue in the start of the season.
So let's talk about their opponents, ROC, who proved that they're still a force to be reckoned with in their massive win over Gambit yesterday.
Yeah, ROC, they played fantastic in team fights yesterday. That's the thing we can say from the games. Vanda's fresh landed hook after hook, and Celaver and Jinx had just perfect position in the fights. Overpow, he was in a more of a supporting role than we normally see him play. He was using Lulu and Orianna, and he focused more on protecting Celaver and then bringing utility to the entire team.
Xaxus also had a classic game on Jackson. It was a repeat of Youngbuck's performance on the same champion against Alliance in the first game of the day. With that strong split push, Gambit really had no answer against the Grandmaster.
No answer at all. And Xaxus was actually one of the players I had my eye on coming into the playoffs, as his performance during the season had been hit or miss. Early in the season, he was winning his lane, but in the last few weeks, he's focused on going even and just playing consistently. With both Freddy and Xaxus now showing skills on Jax, I expect him to be the most contested pick of the series.
And while on the topic of ROC, Jankos in the jungle decided to stick with Elise despite the changes that she received back in 4.4 and the recent introduction of Feral Flare. Even though a lot of pro players are saying she dropped down on their tier list, Jankos has remained faithful to the Spider Queen.
Yeah, and looking at the Gambit games, the Elise pick worked out perfectly for Jankos. She still brings a lot of damage and utility with her stun, and as Jankos, he landed stun after stun, he set up so many easy kills for ROC. Combine that with the early pressure he brought to the lanes, then the Elise pick really was a success. And Jankos, he actually started out the season on fire, and people instantly named both him and Amazing the 2 new superstar junglers. And then Jankos' performance during the season dropped down a little bit, but he kept playing very consistently and always focused a lot on early pressure, just like Svenskeren actually plays. So with 2 early game junglers in this series, then we should be in for a lot of action.
Well, coming into this match, ROC is feeling the pressure after winning their series yesterday and will look to control the game through picks and bans, while the rest of SK Gaming will seek to control their opponent's bot lane.
mobility and can rotate really well.
So they have the kind of the same playstyle that they just like tweak depending on who's their opponent and what playstyle they have.
They have really upper hand on us because they know what we play, what we prepared, because we played it versus Gambit and we know nothing about them.
Their champion pool is very much limited on their strength and on their favorite champions, and I feel like you can catch a lot of them off guard by banning out certain heroes.
They have really good bot lane, really good top lane and jungle. I think the weak point is mid lane.
Their mid laner is very passive and he usually just farms.
He doesn't have that much comfortable champions, so it's easy to predict what he'll do.
Rocket has this bot lane that only plays this push style. They tend to play like any other amateur bot lane. They keep pushing and rotate. That's pretty much what they do, and we kind of figured that out already, so we know how to counter it.
And just as you mentioned a little bit earlier on, ROC seem to be singling out Jesiz as an easy target in this game.
I feel like it could be an option at least for them, like ban away to Nidalee. It was banned both games yesterday against Gambit 2 by them. So clearly they don't really fancy playing Nidalee, at least they didn't show it yesterday. Could be a ban. And then of course the Xaxus, which Jesiz has been playing so much. It's just 2 bans and you kind of remove him from his comfort zone.
Well, we'll find out in just a second as we hit Champion Select, but first, let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's SK Gaming with Freddy in the top lane, Svenskeren in the jungle, Jesiz in the mid lane, and the duo of CandyPanda and nRated.
And on the red side, we have Rocket with Xaxus in the top lane, Jankos is in the jungle, Overpow is the mid laner, Celaver as the AD carry, and Vandalife on support.
Vandalife, we'll see if he, number one, gets a hold of Thresh, because to me, yesterday it was pretty bannable when you look at his performance.
Like, Gambit decided to ban away the Karma, so he just picked up Thresh in both games and performed really well. So let's see if SK Gaming will do the same, ban away Karma, and then let him pick the Thresh here, because nRated, he hasn't played. We haven't seen it all season long, so it would be a free pick there for Rocket.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you look at these teams, top lane-wise, they play the same champions. There's Renekton, there's been Shyvana in the season, Jax, of course, for all of them. I even think both of them actually picked up Ryze now, so it could also be a ban. Overpow played in the mid lane. And then, of course, with the Nidalee, with the 6 for Jesiz in the mid lane.
Well, here we go then into Champion Select for our first game in this best of 3. Second semi-final. Who's going to be going to face Fnatic? We'll find out here shortly. The first band's coming in. We're going to see Ryze and Trundle taken away here by SK Gaming. The other side, Renekton and Leona.
So I like the Ryze ban here because you hit 2 players from Rocket. Both Xaxus and Overpow's been playing it, so you ban this one away. Don't want to risk anything with it, and Ryze has been such a strong pick, especially here with Teleport in the 4.5 patch, where it's so easy for you to get the farm you need, go back to base, buy tier early on, and then teleport back to lane. And now, with Leona ban as well here from Rocket side, and actually also the Karma, they really target towards nRated and feel he's a person we could try and force onto a weird support.
Kha'Zix also taken away as the final ban there for SK Gaming. It left the Nidalee open. We were asking questions about this one. Will it be banned, as Gambit obviously were doing yesterday, banning that out against Rocket, but it's Nidalee. It's Jesiz that we know on SK's side that is so very good with this Nidalee. We talked about his KDA. Fantastic he's played on that one. As a first pick, good choice from your side?
Very good choice. Nidalee is such a strong pick. She can lane against everything. Yes, she might fall a little bit behind in CS, but she will catch up and she will be strong in every single scenario when you come into this mid-late game point. So yes, she's definitely worth the first pick. That's also why I'm a little bit surprised that it didn't ban away. Everything
seemed to go to plan there for ROC. Leaving that Nidalee open, they're like, okay, we get what we wanted. Jax and Thresh locked in for them.
Yeah, so looking at it now when they just instant lock these 2 picks, it's pretty clear they wanted SK Gaming. They knew they would first pick Nidalee, so they're like, you get the Nidalee, fine, we take our main support, and we also take the top laner at the moment, which nobody can deal with because Renekton is banned away. Rocket banned Renekton by themselves. He is the counter pick to Jax, shot him down early game, he's gone. So now they feel confident just blind picking this Jax, and we actually see a matchup we saw yesterday now.
Evelynn and Shyvana going to be the picks here for SK Gaming. We touched on Evelynn for Svenskeren, that he loves these early game ganks, trying to grasp a control of the game for his team.
Early game pressure is what Svenskeren does in every single game. It's what SK Gaming needs him to do, because when you look at SK Gaming as a team, you don't see these insanely strong individual players who are just gonna win the lane by themselves every single time. You see a team which works so well together because of rotations, because of the way the ganks from Svenskeren comes in, the coordination with him. So whenever he picks the early game pressure junglers and he helps out these lanes, they will survive them. They will get to the mid game point where the teamwork really shines.
So, the other picks on the other side for ROC. Again, you have to feel going to plan for them. Elise, we talked about the fact that Jankos has stayed true to Elise, and he's going to do that here once again. We also see Jinx locked in for Celaver, a champion which he played in both games yesterday, 7-1-9 and 4-9. It's an exact replica of the team that they had there so far.
All the same champions from yesterday. Now, only difference was in the mid lane where they played Lulu and Orianna, so we need to see what Overpow decides to log in. But with this lineup here, what I like about it is you have so many options. You can fast tower push with the likes of Jinx, with Elise of course, who's very good also because she's ranged. She can push these turrets down. Her spider form gives some extra attack speed to push the turrets. At the same time, you got split push with the likes of Jax here, so he's going to be very, very strong if he gets a good start. And you can set up fights as well with both Jax, the cocoon from Elise, and of course a hook from Vanda.
We're going to see Vayne. We are going to see Vayne for CandyPanda. Last time he brought that out was against Alliance in week 10. That was a loss for SK Gaming. Also going to be paired here with Kayle, a champion which we saw nRated actually bringing into that support role for the first time. In fact, played that against ROC in the third game that they actually met up.
And he's the only support in Europe which really makes the Kayle thing work here. We saw Edward actually playing it yesterday and it didn't work out for him. But nRated, he was the guy who brought it to life here in Europe, and he really shows many, many times how strong he is on this Kayle support. The laning phase with Vayne is weak if they get in a 2v2, but once they actually get through like the level 6 point where you get the ultimates from both of them, they can start making plays. So SK Gaming is definitely looking for lane swap, but the same goes for Rocket here. They're just fine with lane swapping when they have the Jinx, when they have the Elise, so they can push faster than SK Gaming.
Didn't expect that to get locked in there. They were hovering over Lulu, Orianna, but it's going to be Akali that's locked in for Overpow.
So it's funny with Nidalee being so popular now. A lot of picks comes up just because they're very good against Nidalee, because they can deal with Nidalee in lane, they can try and shut her down. Akali is able to farm very easily against Nidalee here. Once they both hit the level 6 mark, Akali got so much damage to bring, and she can jump, she can dash. Even if Nidalee, very mobile, dashes away herself, Akali can follow. So it's a direct counterpick towards this Nidalee, so we need to see how Overpow handles it. And he needs to be careful because Svenskeren, after the lane swap, if they happen, after they're gone, after they're over, the junglers can start ganking again. And that's where we can see him use a lot of time trying to shut down this Akali in the mid lane.
And the fact is that they've pointed out that middle lane ROC already quite publicly and said middle lane is a weak point for SK Gaming. You look at a video like that and you say, well, you know what they're going to do.
Well, again, that's why we were expecting bans towards Jesiz, but instead, Rocket decided to say, we know what you're going to pick. If we leave Nidalee open, you will first pick it because you love this champion so much. It's the main champion of Jesiz. We're just going to bait you into picking it. Now we have our counter pick in Akali. I haven't seen the matchup before, so let's see what they can actually do with it, or at least I haven't seen it lately. And at the same time, it also gave them the Jax pick.
Well, with his first match about to begin, let's check your votes over at lolesports.com. 51% of you going for SK Gaming here. I was going to say it doesn't get closer than that, but a 50-50 is the only closer option. Very, very close vote.
And this is the #1 team in Europe in the standings against Rocket, who came in as number 5, or number 4, possibly. Yeah, number 4 it was. Yesterday, they beat out Gambit yesterday. Fantastic performance, of course. That's why I guess a lot of people now actually believe Rocket can take it all the way.
Well, here we go then. It is game #1 between SK Gaming and Rocket here in our second semi-final matchup. Really interested to see how this one ends up going in. And interested to see as well how Vanda is going to bring himself to the table. He was instrumental. Some amazing hooks he pulled off yesterday.
If he plays like yesterday, he can set up a lot of things here for Rocket. And they also got the same combo with Elise and Thresh, where they land a hook, followed by Cocoon, or the other way around. So it's a good engage as long as they can land one of these very crucial skill shots.
So here we go then. In game, are we going to see anything at level 1? We've been seeing more and more action here, some of it more successful than others.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of different things. First thing that comes to mind here is none of these teams actually brought a ward level 1. We've seen more and more supports picking up the early ward here, so at least they got some vision. They can cover an area and then lane wait somewhere else, so they can see if the other team does the same here. But as we talked about in Champ Select, when it comes to lane swapping, both these teams should actually be fairly happy lane swapping. You never mind getting Vayne in a lane swap, so you can get some farm early, get to the level 6 point where she becomes stronger. And at the same time, Rocket with this fast push, with the likes of Jinx and Elise to push down these turrets very fast, they wouldn't mind the lane swap either.
Well, we'll see if that does in fact happen right now. Jax and Shyvana are on the top side of the map. Overpow just waiting here on the top side of his middle lane as well. And down the bottom, Elise already moving forward here. Will this be a later 3-man push around onto that red buff from Rocket?
They might actually just miss each other. Actually, no. SK is moving back towards the red buff here, so Rocket coming in. They're gonna wait for them here. They want them to face check.
This could be dangerous as they start to move forward. The spiraling goes out. CandyPanda was spotted. Svenskeren did go low there. Actually, he's gonna get hooked into it. There's the slow as well. He goes down and didn't bother to use the flash. First blood actually goes over to Jankos, and now they're chasing down CandyPanda and decide not to push completely through there, but I was about to say they've smited away, got themselves that red buff. In the end, it's Jankos that gets the kill, gets himself the buff back, and now Xaxus is taking their red buff.
Yeah, so 3 buffs now on the side of Rocket and the first blood. Svenskeren should have flashed away from this hook as soon as he saw it. He knew he was going to die instantly if he actually got the hook onto him, so I'm not sure why he didn't flash. And this is one of the reasons we see teams late invade, because once you actually do it, once you are being aggressive, if you pull ahead with it, if you get the buff, you get such a big early game advantage. And now with red buff as well onto Jax, who is going to be stronger than Shyvana up here in this top lane. Very scary stuff for Freddy.
See what Xaxus can do with it. You mentioned his performance against Gambit. Yes, it was indeed a fine one. You can see already putting down a bit of initial harassment there down in the bottom as well. nRated and Vayne just trying to thrash away on their opponents. CandyPanda going decently low. One thing we should really touch on here in this bottom lane is that heal coming out of nRated, and also the fact that both AD carries running the standard now heal.
Yeah, so obviously with the heal now, with Exhaust, it's a lot harder to get kills in the bottom lane. You don't have this Ignite anymore to all-in burst someone. Exhaust, 50% damage reduction and 30% attack speed reduction is a lot onto an AD carry here, especially early game where your damage is gone. So it's going to be harder for them to pick up kills, but it's going to be easier for them to poke because there is no lifesteal quints anymore. At least very few people actually use them. They go with the attack speed one, so you don't have the same sustain, except now for your heal. But Svenskeren coming towards this bot lane, he always likes to gank bot lane early.
They're pushed up ridiculously far. The hook lands onto CandyPanda, but Svenskeren making his presence felt. They're going to try and focus down Vayne. Here is a summoning heal being used. The exhaust goes onto Svenskeren. Now Celaver trying to slow them. He has to flash away. Looks like they will be able to escape it though.
And look here, with heal, with the movement speed buff from it, they actually managed to get out of range of nRated. And a hook coming.
Hook coming into him, the slow comes down, but Svenskeren is still hanging around from this one. Vayne needs to get himself away, the tumble in, and his silver bolt's not enough damage to actually finish him off. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Cocoon's landed on towards Jesiz. They're going to try and push through from this one. Overpow underneath the tower, gets the kill. He took a few hits from it, but was enough to keep himself alive, and that will be 2-0 Rocket.
And this is so big for Rocket here, getting an early kill onto Akali. Also, some extra XP now, so he's going to hit level 6 before Jesiz. It means Jesiz with no flash, no heal. Akali's just going to jump straight onto him and just force him out of the lane once we actually get to level 6 here. It's a very good gank by Jankos. And bottom lane, the fact they can survive with exhaust, with the heal, get away from Svenskeren, who actually, even though they were pushed all the way up to the turret, very good start by Rocket.
See Xaxus once again putting down the thrashings on towards Freddy. He's got an XP advantage over him there and currently leading in the CS tally as well. And as he hits level 6, he only becomes more of a bully there with every third attack, doing that extra damage, and he's doing a great job so far. Being a bit of an island so far, this top lane, and the junglers, as we expected, focusing more around the middle and bottom lanes.
Yeah, again, for Svenskeren's side, he loves to go bottom lane early when CandyPanda is playing this Vayne, because he wants to give him some help, give him an early lead if possible, because if you get to the point where you can just farm evenly as the same AD carry on Vayne, then you will always do so well in the late game, because you scale so well. So that's why he puts the focus here in the bottom lane early, and it meant Jankos going mid lane instead could pick up a kill with Svenskeren being nowhere near.
Lots of summoners were burnt in that bottom lane exchange earlier as well. The heal and flash maybe most importantly there from Celaver, so he's got no escape method. Vayne still has his flash available, and we'll see if that ends up meaning anything really in this bottom lane before they start to come back off cooldown. Mid lane, as we mentioned before, Akali getting towards that level 6 area. We can see that almost level 6. Couple of minions will do the job for him here. Interested to see whether he goes all in onto Jesiz when he does it.
And the lane is pushing in towards Overpow here, so he will be able to freeze it even once he gets level 6, and just Jesiz needs to farm with spears. But Svenskeren once again down this bottom lane here.
And he is going to get spotted here as he comes around the side. Not got his ultimate just yet. The chompers do go down. Don't think there's enough damage for a kill here. In fact, Svenskeren taking a bit of damage back himself. Vayne was the one that went lowest of them all there, but as I said, not enough damage. AD carrying support weren't really in range to offer anything in that fight.
Yeah, and of course Xaxus was not when rated. He wasn't in range for his own slow, so he couldn't actually provide any CC towards the bottom lane of Rocket. But still, Svenskeren buys time for CandyPanda to get some farm. You can see the CS difference despite 2 ganks already. It's actually Jinx and Thresh winning out 2v2 as expected against Vayne. And of course Kayle, which in the early game is a little bit weak here, so at least he buys some time for the SK dual lane to get some farm, get to the level 6 point.
So am I wondering whether Overpow will go all in at level 6? As, well, failed me, let's just say that. Doesn't decide to go for that.
So,
Jesiz has it level 6 as well.
He's still forcing Jesiz to just farm with spears. So it means for Overpow's side, he's going to get a lot more farm because Jesiz won't be able to pick up everything. He just lost a few minions in here, actually. So Overpow doing a very good job, just zoning him so far away. He's even out of XP range at the moment.
Not a good sign for Jesiz. We see there the spears coming through, able to pick off that back minion, and he's going to get in there for the auto attack. We see just backing away constantly once Overpow starts to move in his general direction. Overpow still got that level advantage. We look at the items there. Early sorcerer shoes actually for Overpow.
Yeah, so early game damage. He wants the early magic penetration, so he's just going to do so much burst, especially if you combine it with Elise here. If they catch on to Jesiz once more, he will die again.
One going over into the blue buff, and Jankos is like, yep, I'm going to go in for this one. Svenskeren is level 6, but also around that half health point. Jankos here just going to wait off to the side, and doesn't look like Jesiz has really come into assist here. This could be that buff going away from them. Overpow here is on top of a ward as he gets hit by the spear, which doesn't really do all that much damage to him, and there is the blue buff taken.
Very, very smart play by Rocket, using the advantage by having the stronger mid laner at the moment, so they feel confident just going into the blue buff. If Jesiz tried to follow out and actually fight, he would have been so much weaker and they would have lost the fight from SK's side, so they had to give it up. It's a very good play by Rocket, pushing the advantage.
See whether
they
can take that blue buff away, and it looks like they will be able to. They can't actually stop them doing this. There's no one around there. Overpow stuck in the mid lane, so Jesiz will in fact get a blue buff off that. And of course Svenskeren did take his red, which he was gifted, or he gifted over I should really say, to Jankos at level 1 when they died to that little invade.
So the fact there was no wards in the river for Rocket, they didn't actually see them moving all the way over to the blue, and also Jankos, he decided to recall after he did his own buffs. So he wasn't there to try and stop them, and it meant actually a very smart counter move by SK getting a blue buff.
This top lane, as I said before, being a bit of an island with not much going on there. We see Giant's Belt, a couple of Doran's items for Freddy, Vamp Scepter and Doran's Blade for Xaxus. But are we going to see a move towards Dragon here? Jankos is already in position. There is a ward put down, and then nRated may find himself a little far out of the hook. Not quite got the range.
But both nRated and CandyPanda now, with the level 6 mark and with the help from Svenskeren, are actually doing really well in the lane. They can start farming even with Jinx and Thresh, so that's very important for them. And of course CandyPanda, we didn't actually talk about the composition from SK yet. The whole point of this is you want to have, of course, Freddy in one lane, you want to have CandyPanda in a different lane, and then you want to keep Jesiz just poking away in the mid lane. The only issue for SK Gaming is the lack of wave clear. So if they fall behind, if Rocket decides to just group up and siege down a turret, there's very little wave clear on SK's side.
CandyPanda now up to level 6, as is Celaver, and the support's there as well. So intervention, the box can come into the equation, and that super mega death rocket as the hook lands onto nRated. Gonna knock him back here as he stands on the chompers. Gonna get slowed as well as the cocoon comes down. He's used the intervention on himself. It's not gonna be enough to save his life though. In fact, he's stayed alive a lot longer than he really should. In the end, it's Jankos that gets the kill, repels off to the minions, and while Svenskeren coming here to do some good damage, he might actually fall foul as they blow him up. That's a double kill now for Jankos, and now they're gonna go towards CandyPanda. The slow will land, but he flashed into it there, and in the end CandyPanda can walk away from that, but they've lost 2 men.
And you asked before this game actually started. Can Vander do the same as he did yesterday? Can he land these hooks twice in a row here, landing the hooks, setting off the kills? Jankos came in, Svenskeren was there for the counter gank, but because they already did so much damage onto nRated, and because Vayne at this stage doesn't do the same amount of damage as a Jinx, they weren't able to turn the fight around, kill for Rocket, actually 2 kills due to the second hook, and now also a Dragon.
There was a bit of a mishap in there. I don't know if you noticed the Super Mega Death Rocket that he fired just as he took the Lantern, which actually meant he threw it straight past them and damage there. But they got 2 kills, so who are we really to complain about an ultimate not landing in that scenario? Leaves ROC at 4-0 up, Dragon taken, 3,000 gold is the lead that they have here, just over 11.5 minutes in.
Very, very strong start from Rocket, really using or abusing the fact that Vayne and Nidalee with the weaker early games here. So they're just pulling far ahead, and Jankos, we highlighted him before the game. Yesterday on Elise, twice against Gambit, he did the same things. He was so strong throughout the entire game, especially the early game. He's doing the same now. Every single gank he's done, it's been successful.
Seen a lot of people backing away from Elise, and certainly in the bans, we used to see a ban out so very often, but now just left after those changes where everyone, I think there's a bigger split if you talk to a lot of these pro players as to whether Elise is still good or not. It's kind of hard to say she's not good when you look at the scoreboard right now. 3-0-1. Yesterday's games, of course, were also amazingly played by Jankos. That's got to be a consideration next time around, however this game now comes out.
Well, the thing with Elise is she brings so many different things to your team. Yeah, like you can push with her, you can siege a turret because she's ranged, you can get the damage on the turret. She's one of the few ranged junglers we have. At the same time, you got still some very good damage, you still got good Dragon and Baron control. Yes, you can take it, it's a bit slower, but it's still very good control you got over these objectives. So, and also of course we see her ganks here. Her late game with a 2-second stun now, it's not bad either, so she's still good in every aspect. We just see a lot of pro players with different opinions. Some prefer junglers with Fail Flare. They like Xaxus more, they like Noxin more than Elise at the moment, and that's just different styles, and also depends on your team.
Evelynn, who's now down at this bottom lane, Svenskeren. That's the thing, he's been in position.
Every single game.
Been in position here a couple of times already. They've not had the damage to really get anything going on. This time could be different though. Vander and Celaver moving out of position. We see Svenskeren coming around the side. There's a 2-man ultimate. Box goes down. Vander is going to go low from this, but can they finish him off? He throws down the Lantern to get the shield, but CandyPanda able to pick up the kill.
And the very big, oh, actually in the mid lane. Backing out, backing out. Still, the big difference down the bottom lane here with the gank is the ultimate from Svenskeren. He can actually provide the slow by himself now, so the rest of SK can then follow up, get in range to actually do all the damage, and perfect for them to get the kill onto CandyPanda.
Don't want to let this Vayne get going if you're a Rocket Rocket fan or player.
Or Rocket fan too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Their plan certainly doesn't like to have a Vayne that's fed, I guess, by the end of this game.
Well,
and they've got themselves a Jax, which is, you know, a similar kind of painful when it gets to that late game.
Yeah, so the thing is, both these teams got the potential to do 1-3-1. I mean, you can have Jax and you can have Akali split pushing. You can then have, of course, Shyvana and Vayne split pushing. And they're going to fight each other here 1v1. If it's Jax against Shyvana late game, Jax is going to win. Shyvana needs to back off. She can't deal with the sustain and the damage from Jax in a 1v1. So Vayne is actually going to be all about CandyPanda. He needs to be able to outplay in his 1v1s so SK Gaming can put the pressure on the split push. In the mid lane, it's just going to be Nidalee throwing spears and then Celaver dodging him and trying to wave clear and apply pressure.
See, once again, Overpow actually diving in there, good bit of damage. Tries to shroud up there to get away from the spear, but, well, already on his general direction. That lands in, but you can see just getting all that back with the spell vamp that he's got.
Exactly. Look at the way he's playing. He doesn't mind taking a few hits because he got so much lifesteal and spell vamp, so he can just get it up on the minion wave. Jesiz won't be able to pressure him enough, so he can just dive onto the turret, get a few hits, back out again.
Start to dive in there. We know how strong Nidalee's heal is. Also carrying someone a heal here as well is Jesiz, so he's got a good bit of heal in there, but if Akali gets going onto you, out of position as a hook actually landing here, flashed away from, but here comes Jankos. He lands a cocoon as well onto nRated. The Super Mega Death Rocket was thrown, but it was blocked by the intervention. We see that Svenskeren trying to get involved here, but I think they might have to back off.
They need to back off for now. There's no ultimate onto nRated, no flash either, so he's not going to be able to do much in a fight. Svenskeren actually goes to golems here, so Rocket will get some damage onto the turret.
Now much damage onto the turret though. The zap comes through there. The hook and it actually landed there onto nRated. I feel like he walked into that one. And while it was a good hook, I think he still walked into that one. He saw it coming, ended up in there. It doesn't matter if you walk into it or whether it's spectacular. Vander landed the hook, and again we see him setting up the kills here for ROC.
Yeah, he's really, together with Jankos, every single gank has been combined with hooks and then the cocoon landing, and you set up these kills, these picks from Rocket side, and they can now take the turret.
Oh, Chomp has been thrown down there, and the tumble from CandyPanda getting him out of range of that stun. He probably would have gone down if that stun would have landed onto him. But ROC, they don't seem to be stopping here. They're going to keep pushing through, and with that Jinx in there in particular, those towers, you can see how fast it's shredded away. As Svenskeren comes in the side, the flame comes down, but Svenskeren is going to pay the price here, surely. Yes, he is. It's Celaver that gets the kill. Now CandyPanda going to be focused. Will he get away? The tumble takes him to safety, and nRated gets hit by the cocoon, and Jankos is on a rampage.
And this combo by Rocket here, they bring so much CC, they bring so much damage. The nukes they can do when both Elise and Jinx, they got this percentage damage when people drop low, and Rocket, pretty far off.
Yeah.
Well, I got a bit too hyped about that one.
It's okay, I captured the replay once. But yeah, that leaves them 7-1 up in kills, 7,000 gold there or thereabouts. Math was never really my strong point, and 2-0 up in turrets. And we see that Xaxus here starting to move in already onto that tower. Doesn't really care that Freddy's there, but as the minion starts to go, he's like, I'll use that for the leap strike, get himself away. He's already got that Blade of the Ruin King done, by the way.
Yeah, so the Jax train is gonna start. He's gonna split push, and it's gonna be very, very dangerous to actually duel him 1v1. So Freddy, he's just looking to clear out the waves and then back off, and he doesn't want to fight him. But the bottom lane again, the combo they're using, the composition with these 3 members, it's the same thing they did yesterday, and it worked the same way. They grouped up, they landed hooks, landed cocoons, and they just had so much damage and the execute damage as well. That's whenever someone was low, they could just boom, instantly explode you. And it also means whenever SK tries to fight them here, if someone is down to 50%, he's gonna be the first target to die very fast.
ROC are just walking over SK Gaming here. They've just taken that dragon. Now they're gonna walk up to this middle tower, and just 3 or 4 hits from Celaver will take that one down. That's all 3. Oh, it's not 2 line so it's down, but CandyPanda getting hooked here at the red buff. We do see the intervention used. Can they get in there for the kill? Overpow gonna dive in the middle. It's CandyPanda that's the focus. Has to actually shroud up there as a lot of damage comes in. Jesiz from the side as well, as we see the hook flashing by. The zap landed onto Svenskeren. No kills result in there though.
But very aggressive play by Rocket. They can do it because the 2 outer turrets are gone, the mid lane and the bottom lane, so they can move into the jungle of SK, put the deep wards and find some key targets.
This could be dangerous for them. No, Svenskeren is going to walk straight into the middle, and that's an easy ultimate to get up onto all 3 members. Vander flashing away, and they've caught out Svenskeren. He's going to get hooked, finished off in the end by Celaver, and now CandyPanda in trouble. Is he going to be able to walk off from that? Yes, he is. Vander and Jankos both at less than half. They decided not to follow on through. Still another kill for ROC.
And again, the same 3 members together, the same deal here. SK, they don't have enough damage early game to deal with them. They have so much damage, and now Saz is going very aggressive up in the top lane.
Why not? He got some good damage in there now. Already used that Blade of the Ruin King before, so didn't have that one to really chase on through with. And there were a lot of questions yesterday about whether ROC were really that on fire or whether Gambit were having a bad day or a combination of both. I think the way that ROC are playing here is pretty much identical, with an almost identical team and an almost identical lineup that they've got in there. I think that quashes any questions that were asked yesterday.
The strongest part about Rocket in this best out of 3 thing, same goes back all the way back to relegation, is the fact their champion selection is so good. They have these counter picks ready because they knew, oh, you're gonna pick Nidalee, we don't care, we're gonna pick this Akali here who can deal with you in the mid lane, and then we're just gonna apply so much pressure. They picked this very strong early game comp with Jinx and with Fretch, and then they don't even care about the Vayne or Kayle. They just force fights all the time, and they're gonna win them. And wow, Fred actually went very aggressive here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he could have actually taken him. Got a Sunfire Cape and his Cutlass in there, but that's with that Blade of the Ruin King with almost the Phage in there on top of a Sheen now as well. So he's working his way very quickly up towards that Trinity Force. Credit to Freddy there though, he is technically ahead in that lane on the CS.
Yeah, Freddy's been doing a very good job farming. Still, he got the issue, he can't actually duel the Jax, as we've talked about multiple times, and we will not mention it again in this cast. However,
I might.
You might mention, I'm not gonna mention it. Maybe, okay, maybe once. Anyway, down the bottom lane, we actually see Overpow now starting his split push, as we talked about earlier with the 1-3-1. So he's gonna be down here, and one thing about him is this pink ward he actually just planted. He had it in his inventory for the last, I don't know, 15 minutes, just waiting for a time to use it. I actually thought he would use it if he was gonna duel CandyPanda to pop it down when he used his stealth, but instead he actually put it in the tri-bush and quickly cleared out.
And look at this, that turret going very low. Celaver supported that Svenskeren was coming in, saw that he was under threat. The lantern was already down for him. He gets whisked off to safety, and that turret survived with very little HP. Meanwhile, the top lane, as we expected, the 1-3-1 split. Akali down bottom, Jax up top, and the 3-man death team, which is what they've been in this game so far, pushing mid.
And the thing actually we didn't talk about yet is the lack of hard CC from SK Gaming. So Celaver feels confident enough just with the lantern from Vander to actually stand by himself and hit the turret. And then Vander stands a little bit further back, throws the lantern to him, and because there's no hard CC to engage onto Celaver, he will always be able to flick it.
Xaxus going in onto Freddy here, and we see that empowered strike as he jumps back away to Vander. The spear just came flashing through there. Rocket, I think, wisely deciding to back away. They've got full vision control on Baron, but we're only 22 minutes into this one, and honestly, Rocket probably don't even need it at this stage.
They don't need it, but when you have Jax, when you have Elise, when you have Jinx, you only need 2 or 3 members and you can take down this Baron very, very fast. If Overpow stays in the bottom lane and pulls down multiple members from SK, instantly Rocket can just move there and start the Baron.
nRated trying to get rid of that pink ward, but there's a spider in there which he doesn't want to walk straight into. That will finally get rid of it though as they come back in. And Rocket know that that ward's down there, so that's an easy take in there when they come in and sweep it.
And look at how SK Gaming is playing. CandyPanda down the bottom lane, farming like he's alone. Svenskeren in stealth, staying around, waiting for Overpow to jump onto CandyPanda, and then he joins in and turns it around in favor of SK. If they do manage to kill him, they can then go for the turret. So they're keeping Svenskeren with CandyPanda for now, just to make sure nothing happens. Or if it happens, they can turn it around.
Xaxus has his Trinity Force now, and we've seen Jax's been able to 2v1 people already this weekend. We'll have to see whether CandyPanda even fancies his chances in that one. Does have the Blade of the Ruin King, a couple of daggers in there as well, but he is just backing away from that one. So they're going to go back to that split again, the 1-3-1, this time with Akali pushing the top lane out and Jax down bottom.
And the smart thing about sending Jax bottom lane is the fact with teleport. If he kills Freddy 1v1, he can then teleport up to the Baron by himself. Overpow will already be near, so they can just pile 5 members in there. Yes, you could do it with Overpow in the bottom lane and keep Jax up here so he could start the Baron by himself and Overpow fights in the bottom lane. But they decided actually to send Jax there, so they got the teleport threat towards Baron.
Around here, and Svenskeren's supposed to be the one that's invisible, but actually he's going to get caught completely out of position, has to flash away there. Will they keep chasing? Super Mega Death Rocket goes through, doesn't really do a lot, but here's Overpow from the side. There's another kill. Xaxus dives in. Actually, CandyPanda comes in around the backside. That's getting 1 kill. The cocoon landed, and that'll be another double coming in for Jankos. He's now 6-0-4.
So double kill for Jankos here. Actually, they got a kill onto Celaver, so SK got at least something out of this, but Rocket now moving instantly for the Baron. We talked about how Jax and Elise can take Baron so fast.
He looks to be the only one that could really do anything. He's just going to ultimate in there, and Rocket say thank you very much. That'll be a free kill for us then. Jankos picking that one up. 7-0-4 now for him. Godlike as the Baron goes down here, surely in favor of Rocket. Will they be able to spear over? They will, but a little bit too low. Was actually body blocked here by Vayne. So Baron goes over with that 2-for-1. Actually, it was 3-for-1 in the end trade as well.
Yeah, very, very good play by Rocket. Really using the early game advantage. They're not going to wait around. They're not going to extend this game. They want to just fight, go straight for the objective as soon as there's an option. So very aggressive play by Rocket, really abusing this late game comp from SK.
If you look down some of the items here, Gunblade done for Overpow with a needlessly large rod as well. Jax has got himself a Warden's Mail, so going to start to be getting a little bit tankier here as well. And not only is he doing masses of damage, but it's going to be so hard to take down. Another thing that we talked about early game, or before the game actually, was how SK have been so present and so good moving around the map. They've not had the chance to do it at all this game, losing out on all 3 dragons and that Baron.
And the thing, SK Gaming lost this in the laning phase, or they fell behind in the laning phase simply by very good ganks from Jankos, setting it up every time, and then the hooks from Vander, of course. And oh, going aggressive.
Yeah, I don't think Celaver's going to escape this one. It's CandyPanda that gets the kill to put him at 2-1-1. They may be able to take themselves a turret here. Freddy is headed down. Only Vander is around to defend, and he's not going to be able to. This is going to be the first turret of the game for SK.
And this was the good map movements we talked about for SK Gaming. They have these small tactics they're going to use whenever they're behind, and they do everything they can to get CandyPanda some kills. And now Svenskeren beats Cocoon.
Svenskeren's dead as well. It's Xaxus that gets that one. Now they turn around onto Freddy. He does have his ultimate available, and will use that one just to move off in towards the river. Meanwhile, nRated and Jesiz doing a good job of moving into that middle lane and taking out the second turret of SK's match.
So they got 2 turrets for it. Yes, they gave up a kill onto Svenskeren. Stayed a little bit too long, and once again actually got Cocoon. It's been happening many times so far, but Overpow getting some damage on this turret. Jesiz coming, and also nRated right behind him.
Yeah, but you don't want to fight Overpow. He's got a DFG and a gunblade here.
Ouch.
That is a very, very scary Akali teleport is going to be coming in. Overpow actually gets hit there by the spear, and nRated going to get the heal off, but there's the damage coming in. He went down without even using intervention. They do get 1 kill back, but CandyPanda will fall. Now it's Freddy that's focused. Super Mega Death Rocket again. I think Celaver's trying to miss him on purpose. It was a triple kill for Jax. He's now at 4-0-2, and 3 men down for SK. They're not going to be able to hold on to these towers now.
When there's obviously a DFG that he didn't actually use it, but still, when you have such a good early game start for Akali, such a good early game start for Jax, they have so much damage already. They're going aggressive again.
I think they might have to back away though. Jesiz actually coming in there, good spear, he gets off as well. Celaver now is the tower wrecking machine. He's going to move straight in there. That is the first inhibitor turret of this game going down. ROC going to be backing away, and on the subject of the DFG, I think he didn't want to use it onto nRated.
Yeah, because he could
realize
of course.
that he's going to ult himself. As it happens, nRated died without using the ultimate at all.
So nRated was the guy to face check because, as you just said, he wanted their DFG onto him so he could just instantly ultimate it, but because Jax joined in, stunned him up, and they just instantly burst him. He couldn't even react in time to ultimate himself, so he just went down so fast. And if you have Trinity Force and Blade of the Rune King so early on a Jax, just those 2 items by itself, it's so much damage
and
for you.
And Randuin's now.
Yeah, now you're just even more tanky, and if he finds CandyPanda in a 1v1, it's goodbye CandyPanda.
CandyPanda himself got that Phantom Dancer now. It leaves him 1.5 items behind Celaver if you look overall. Last Whisper and a Negatron cloak picked up here recently by Celaver. There's CandyPanda trying to push this lane out, trying to get himself even more farm, but honestly he's going to have to run away because the ROC team are starting to move in from this one. They're going to go towards Freddy first of all. A lot of damage coming in there. Are they going to be able to get close enough? Here comes the hook. Miles wide from Vander, not something we've been used to seeing from him so far in this game. You can't hit them all though.
No, and a max range hook. He was hoping that Freddy would juke to one side, instead Freddy took the opposite side, so he completely missed the hook. And still, you have to try, and we have to just give credit to Rocket when looking at this game. Like, there's not a single time where they just stop and say, okay, let's farm for 5 minutes. No, it's action, action, action. Whenever there's a chance, whenever SK moved out of the base, Rocket will go towards them and try and start a fight.
Coming out from Celaver onto the inhibitor, and that is going to get finished off here quickly while still managing to dance around those spears that are coming out. And ROC not going to take any risks here. Ooh. They pick up that one hook, almost catching out nRated. They're just going to rotate straight to this mid lane and carry on the siege, possibly, or are they going to go to bottom first here? There's a big wave on that lane as well.
But let's see actually how SK Gaming if they want to try and start a fight, because if Rocket are just going to push on your turrets, you need to do something at some point. You can't just let them fall 1 by 1. And then Vander now going towards Freddy.
Going on to Freddy. The box actually put down here. Here comes Celaver from the side as well. This is going to be a lot of damage coming in, but actually they decide not to chase, wanting to get Freddy low there to give them an easier time on the tower.
So what I was trying to say is, how is SK actually going to engage these fights? Is it going to be Svenskeren just walking in the face of Rocket, put down his ultimate, and then they try to pile on? Because with Vayne and with Nidalee, you need to kite it back. But Rocket can just say, you know what, we don't care, we're just going to take the turret then. So SK Gaming really,
going on to Freddy. I mean, intervention was used there. DFG and Gunblade came out of Overpow. That's a lot of damage, and let's bear in mind that that is the tank that they have right there, and absolutely nuking him down. Not quite 100 to 0, but you know, going close enough and forcing him to back away. Rocket not getting a direct turret from that one, but they're going to come back in with this next minion wave and start their assault again.
Always getting some good damage onto the turret. Celaver feels so safe because nothing can lock him down. the lantern from Vander can always come out. You see Vander, every time Celaver gets a few hits, he moves back a little bit. So the lantern is there, he can take it and jump out if Svenskeren decides to pop his ultimate onto Celaver.
And we saw the spear land onto Celaver there, and pretty much 2 or 3 auto attacks heal him straight back up, the lifesteal that he's got right now. So that's also a bit of a worrying sign here. SK trying to hold on to their base as Vander is going to spot them. There's the engage, they're going to go straight in. Svenskeren actually is going to try and run away from this one. It's Overpow now, going to join the party. He dives to the backside, went for Svenskeren, didn't get the kill, but here comes Jax. Is that the cleanup crew they're looking for? Vander, in fact, a lot of ROC players going very, very low from that one. Crucially not dying. That leaves them in a 5v4. And we see that the super minions are actually pushing and have taken down a Nexus turret.
So SK actually engaged when there were only 3 members of Rocket. So they got Vander very low, they got Jankos very low. But then Xaxus and Overpow could come from the mid lane and join in for the fight. Turn it around, kill Freddy, and now inhibitor more for Rocket.
Minions wrecking the base there. That's not good, and probably the reason why SK said, okay, we have to fight here because we're going to lose the entire base if we don't do it now.
When you're so far behind and the enemy team is just pushing onto your base, you can't just sit there and wait. You need to try and do something. They actually did the best thing they could do. When 2 members were gone, they engaged onto them. But Elise, repel, took some time to kill her. Didn't actually manage to kill her because while she was up in the air, Xaxus came in, Overpow came in, and then when he landed down, there was actually no threat because SK had to run back to their own base.
Look at that gold to spend as well after taking down Dragon. Over 2,000 for both Xaxus and Celaver. That's going to be Jax coming back in with even more ridiculousness to the party. Celaver actually picked himself up the Banshee's Veil.
Now Lich Bane onto Overpow, so he's instant upfront burst with DFG, of course, with his Gunblade, and then with his first hit on the Lich Bane here with his own Q on the target. Yeah.
You're not going to survive.
It's almost going to one-shot someone like nRated.
We'll see if it comes to that here because ROC have a Baron to take. SK Gaming is still trying to push those waves out of their base, and ROC are just going to start off the Baron. SK, I don't think is going to come anywhere near that here. This should be the second one of the game going over to ROC.
If SK Gaming... No, I mean, if SK Gaming tried to do something here, it would be horribly wrong. It would be easy for Rocket to just turn around. So wisely enough, they stay in the base. Rocket just taking full advantage of the fact they're so far ahead, and because of everything they've done earlier, of course a Baron like this, no problem.
Over 20,000 gold is the lead that Rocket are currently handling. And well, if you can't win a game with that kind of lead, then something's going to go wrong for you in the future, I think.
I think we've seen too in this game is the lack of wave clear from SK Gaming. It's been an issue actually, because once they fell behind and tried to just stand it on base, it was no issue for Rocket to always get a few hits on the turret because the wave would always come all the way in. Nobody could clear it from SK, so it also meant for them, and they were forced to teamfight. And of course, when you're so far behind, there's nothing you can do in these fights.
Xaxus actually trying to 1v1 CandyPanda, who turns things around, and we see there he's not even doing that much damage to him. Xaxus does this time get condemned against the wall, and he just jumps away, leap strikes off to the ward, and dodges the spear as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the team did in fact take out that inhibitor in the top lane.
So Xaxus here buying some time. Again, SK Gaming, they can't fight for the inhibitor, so they need to try and do something else. Every time they try and find a pick, they're just so far behind, they don't have enough damage, and there's actually nothing else to say at this point.
Now they're coming in for that third and final inhibitor. Of course, they've only got 1 Nexus turret here, SK Gaming, thanks to those minions. TP from Xaxus is going to bring him right to the front of the fight as Freddy is round the back here. Not sure that's the position he wants to be in. Intervention will be used, but look at Xaxus ripping through them there on the backside. Freddy will go down, and Xaxus didn't even take any damage as he charged through. Super Mega Death Rocket on towards Overpow. He's going not quite into the fountain, had enough range to stay away from it, and this is going to be game. 3 men down for SK Gaming. CandyPanda was off in the Dragon Pit. There was Jesiz, and Rocket pick up game number 1 and step 1 step closer to the grand final.
And it is fantastic to see them continue the play they used yesterday. So aggressive early game. Finding these right moments to always land a hook, land a cocoon in the ganks, and then they just get the kills and they continue going in the game. They don't stop, they don't sit and wait, they don't farm for 10-15 minutes afterwards. They just keep fighting, keep using the advantage they got. And it's fantastic to see them play like this.
So let's have a look through the scoreboard of this one, because there are some pretty impressive performances to be noted. Jankos, for me, man of the match, 9-0-8 he finished there with that Elise, was absolutely everywhere that he needed to be at the right time. That bottom lane, of course, was just a playground for him to get things going.
Every single time he went down bot, hook landed from Vander, set everything up, then cocoon, boom, you get a kill. So once you've done this the first time and you actually picked up the double kill for Rocket side, you're just so much stronger. So you can just continue to do it over and over. And there was nothing SK could do in response except for, of course, don't get hooked. That was obviously the way to avoid it. But then it would just be zoned out of the lane anyway and would have lost the turret, and it would actually been the same deal. So as soon as the early ganks from Jankos went so well, he just managed to snowball the entire game by himself.
What did you think to the style there? For me, was very similar to what we saw against Gambit yesterday. And the funny thing is that if they come in with almost the same lineup, almost the same tactical play out of it, SK watched the game against Gambit yesterday. They should have known surely what to do from this, and what can you do about that in the first place and then in the second place when you start to fall behind anyway?
So the SK game plan coming into the game, they obviously didn't expect an Akali pick. I don't think anyone expected an Akali pick here. So that was probably where they got caught up by surprise, because the tactic was pretty straightforward. We pick a weak early game bot lane. If we don't get the lane swap, Svenskeren camps the bot lane. He just goes down there over and over, try and set something up, try and get some farm or some kills onto CandyPanda. If it works, great, we can start split pushing. We have this very strong Vayne, and we have this very strong late game comp with a Nidalee poking and Shyvana pushing the other lane. That was obviously the main idea about the tactic. Now, Akali gets logged in against Nidalee. It's a matchup you can't win as Nidalee. I mean, there's so much pressure onto you. The first gank by Jankos is a success in the mid lane. Picks up a kill, first for Overpow. Meanwhile, the gank in bottom lane goes wrong. They don't get a kill here. They get some farm on CandyPanda, but no kill. So already from there, they're behind, and that's where they start becoming desperate, and they continue to gank the bottom lane because it's the only thing they can actually do. If you go mid lane, when there's a Nidalee who provides 0 CC, it's very hard to set up the gank here. So they just continue to do the game plan, and what they felt that was the only thing they could do, it just wasn't enough.
Well, good first game victory, and very solid one from ROC. Puts them just one game away from meeting Fnatic in tomorrow's final. But for now, we're going to check in with Shox, Demon, and Kevin for more about that match.
Thank you very much, Joe. What a landslide win for ROC here in his first game versus SK Gaming. I gotta ask, if you looked at the picks and bans before we saw the outcome of the game, who would you have given the edge to, Kevin?
I would have given definitely to Rocket, just because Shyvana against Jax already the pressures on Shyvana, because even she went even in CS, she couldn't just do anything against Jax later on as soon as she had Blade and Triforce later on. So later, yeah, the mid lane as well. Nidalee against Akali. Akali a surprise pick as well for me. Of course, good versus Nidalee, especially with a gank in the beginning. No flash, no heal, just snowbally mid lane. I think Rocket followed their tactics they had versus SK. They said mid lane is the weakness of SK, and they took advantage of it with such a snowbally mid laner as Akali.
And let's talk about the whole team comp in general, because we were sat up with you, Fnatic guys were there as well. We were discussing the fact that they had, of course, the Elise in there again. The Jax was picked out because Renekton and Ryze, Trundle all were banned out, so it was like, what are they going to counter with it? And then again, Akali comes out. They literally had nothing to stop them running through the team, and it proved it in the game. It's like, were you surprised that they didn't go for a more heavy CC type of comp for SK?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised, especially against Akali. You need some AoE, some CC. Same with Jax. Like, if Jax is free to do what you want, he will punish you. And yeah, SK just, I think, a poor champ select for them.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about the Jax as well, because obviously you've been fairly vocal with it off air. So let's talk about it on air, because the fact that Ryze, Trundle, and Renekton were all taken away, so big bullies in that top lane against the Jax. Was there really anything that Freddy could have gone with against that Jax?
So versus Jax, of course, there are some choices I would go. Me personally, I really love Riven against Jax, or for example, even Jesiz. Both, of course, picks you have to practice with the team and in solo queue. But I think Shyvana is a really safe pick, and if you want to go safe and just go even and depend on your team, then you go that pick. But me personally, I would have went something aggressive which can punish the Jax pick.
Going into game 2 then for SK Gaming, they banned out Ryze, Trundle, and Kha'Zix, as said. But then we had on the other team an Elise pick, which was so impactful. The Thresh pick, which was so impactful. What do you think they have to put the highlight on going into picks and bans for the next one, D-Man?
Well, I mean, I think we should start calling him Jankos, because Jankos has been everywhere. I don't know whether SK watched the Gambit games yesterday, because he was doing the same thing, and he had incredible stats. He's definitely setting himself up for MVP this weekend, that's for sure, because he's played fantastic. And, I mean, where does Millennium stand as a team? You know, Elise, every jungler seems to debate that Elise has been nerfed and is no longer viable, but we're seeing Jankos pulling off magnificent things once again with him.
So definitely Elise is still viable. I think people just prefer something else, like Evelynn and, for example, Kha'Zix, of course. But Jankos is really comfortable with Elise, and the ganks are still really strong. The damage is still normal, like it's balanced. And so definitely a strong pick for Rocket there.
Yeah, and especially paired up with Jankos. As you said, it might be a run for MVP for him, and that's actually what we asked you guys at home as well. At the top of the show, we asked you to get on Twitter and tell us who was your MVP for the European LCS Spring Split and why. And here are some of your most valuable players. The first one is from @StormDK. MVP of the regular season was definitely nRated. His presence on the team managed to secure SK an unlikely first place. Here on the Kayle, a rough start for him.
It was a rough start for him, but he has played fantastic over this season. Have you ever been a teammate with him? You were back in game, maybe? Long time ago, back in Season 1, was it?
With nRated, not
sure.
really,
I mean,
no.
there's been, you guys have jumped across a couple of teams. You've been around for a long time. Not sure whether you ever played with him, but for me, he started the season very badly, but he really has stepped up his performance. He said it himself at the start of the season. It's like, I'm not playing good. But he really has turned it around, and he's had some great performances. Last game, not so much so.
We'll see how it goes in game 2. The second one from @MissKilvez. Reckless is personally my EU MVP. His playstyle is insane, and he's rarely ever had a bad game. He's an inspiration for ADCs, and we did see in the previous series, he performed very well again. You've played against him many times, and it is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, so I played a lot versus him and with him as well. I played before in Season 2 with him. So he's definitely a super strong AD carry. He's always in position, and his lane phase is just really strong. And yeah, not much to say there. He's overall a really good player.
And the last one is from @AmuniLol. My MVP for the EU LCS is Vander from ROC. His Thresh plays are just too amazing to ignore, and supports need more love. He definitely made a case for supports right there.
Absolutely. He was pulling hook after hook, setting up, throwing the lanterns out, setting up Jankos. Jankos came in with the cocoon. It's a horrible combination. Pair that with Celaver. He is really playing very well. And you just got to look across the season. He had MVP, I think it was week 3 or 4, Vander. Vanderlife, we were starting to call him back then, as Deficio was referring to, has played fantastic as support. We've had some brilliant supports, honestly, this season.
Absolutely, and Vander was definitely one of those. And thank you guys at home for sharing those tweets with us. And remember, you can always send your hashtag LCS tweets to @LOL Esports. We'll step off the Rift for a moment, which gives you time to top off your mana for Game 2 between ROC and SK Gaming. We'll be right back with that in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's check out some of the highlights of Vander's huge hooks from that last match.
Go low there, actually he's gonna get hooked into it. There's a slow as well. He goes down. The box can come into the equation, and that super mega death rocket as the hook lands onto nRated. Gonna knock him back here as he stands on the chompers. Gonna get slowed as well as the cocoon comes down. He's using intervention on himself. It's not gonna be enough to save his life as Svenskeren comes in the side. The flay comes down, but Svenskeren is gonna pay the price here, surely. Yes, he is. It's Celaver that gets the kill. Now CandyPanda gonna be focused. Will he get away? The tumble takes him to safety, and nRated gets hit by the cocoon, and Jankos is on a rampage.